Sound speed.
Marker.
Action.
Check, check. Check 1, 2.
Son of a...
Sound speed. Action.
And hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us on another episode of Trew Audio Presents. I'm your host, Thomas Pop from Marketing, and we want to say we got the boys here from Shure today. How are you guys doing, Sam and Ross?
Hey,
Good.
how are you?
I mean,
You gonna give me a high five or what, Ross?
I think so. I don't know if we were counting down to the high five. We didn't rehearse the high five enough.
We did not rehearse that.
that's okay.
It's all live, right?
You're going to have plenty of opportunities to redeem yourselves for that high five, okay, for that high zero, I'm going to call it. But guys, we have an incredible show for you today. Obviously, the boys from Shure are here, and they're here to talk about a couple different lavalier choices that maybe a lot of people don't know about, but they absolutely need to know more about. We've got the Duraplex and the Twinplex wires, and we're going to start with the Duraplex. That's the newest one. Is that right, guys?
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So what I want to do is I actually want to start out with a commercial because they have an incredible marketing team as well. Check out this amazing commercial all about the Shure Duraplex. We'll be right back. Guys, that was an absolutely incredible commercial for an incredible product. Why don't you talk a little bit more about this Duraplex wire?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that commercial because I think it kind of showcases some of the things that are really special about Duraplex, and certainly some of the stuff that we are here to talk about today. So first and foremost, in the picture and in the video, one of the really big things for us with the new Duraplex line of mics is you see it being splashed with water. You see dirt getting thrown at it. And this is the first lavalier mic we have like this that is actually IP rated. So for anybody who might not be familiar, IP is ingress protection, and it's how well that element can withstand being underwater, being submerged, being exposed to the elements, dust, dirt, that sort of thing. So the Duraplex lavs and the headset are IP57 rated. So that 5 is ingress protection from dirt and solid particles, dust, dirt, that sort of thing, things that might be blown in the wind, or if you're doing a shoot in the desert somewhere and there's sand being kicked up. And then the 7 has to do with waterproof protection. So all of our Duraplex elements are waterproof up to 1 meter for up to 30 minutes, which is a great thing to have for a lava element. I know a lot of folks who are our loyal fans and customers of Trew, at least occasionally, have to deal with some sort of reality, something or other, and you just never know when someone's going to sit in a hot tub or jump in a pool or spray somebody with a hose or who knows what. So knowing that you have that kind of protection in a lav is a big deal, and it's really important.
Yeah, it's not even the elements too. It's
ahead.
Also the sweat and all of those different aspects.
Exactly.
So you just have to be prepared for anything and any of the elements that are going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And then so the other big thing with the Duraplex is the cable technology. So the cable technology here on Duraplex is something that we borrowed from our Twinplex line, which we'll talk more about in a minute. But it has a kind of this helical reinforcement, and in that commercial Thomas just showed, there's a kind of CGI video of it that you saw a moment ago. But it has this spiral reinforcement that runs the entire length of the cable that serves not only to make it stronger and reinforce that cable, but it also acts as a redundant ground. So when you've got this thing out there on talent, or you've got it on somebody who's not necessarily familiar with the technology, or more importantly, doesn't really care about it because they don't own it, you really have to break that cable twice in the same spot before you wind up losing audio. So it really is significantly stronger and significantly more reliable than anything else that's out there right now. And we're really, really proud of that cable because, as Thomas, as you know, Ross, as you know, everyone else out there who's watching, as you all know, when you're talking lavs, 9 times out of 10, that cable is going to be your failure point. That's what's crapping out on you before the element does, before the connector does. So having a really strong cable there just greatly increases the life of your product and how much longer you can use it. It increases the return you get on that not insignificant investment you're making in your mics.
For sure, yeah, it's definitely the weakest link is that cable. You have that diaphragm and everything that's protected inside of that shell, and then you just have a cable that's soldered with 3 little leads or 2 little leads, depending on the balancing and biasing of your mic. And you need something strong that is going to be able to withhold all of the abuse in the years that you're going to have it out on those talent and on those productions.
And that's been a choice Shure has made for decades, coming up on a century. Thomas, you got the SM57 and the SM58 behind you there, and that's part of the legacy of Shure, is that live sound, rock and roll. This mic is going to survive on the road with Bruce Springsteen and Def Leppard and whoever else. So we're no strangers to building things to military spec to withstand, the world they're being used in. And it's not that we developed the cable because we had a wild hair one day about new cable technology. This was going into the field and listening to the people who interact with these things on reality TV, documentary. You give the talent a pack and a lav, and they're going to wind that cable around the pack. They're going to sling it around. They're going to treat it like it's not theirs. And that's what happens in the world. And we want to address that and offer a better tool for the job, something that's going to meet the quality of audio that we're trying to reach, the standard Shure is set for themselves, but also last you for a long time, which is always an interesting choice as a manufacturer, right? To build a product that you're not going to need to replace for years and years. But that's what's worked for Shure for 90 plus years now. It's
like that Sears Craftsman logo. You can buy other tools many times, or you can buy Sears Craftsman once. It's the same thing with Shure. You want to buy the gear that's going to last a long time, and it's going to give you that quality that you need. I'm assuming that you guys are wearing these microphones right now. Is that correct?
We are indeed. So as I'm talking, you're hearing me on a Duraplex Lav, the DL4, and Ross, I believe you're on the Twinplex, correct?
That's right. I'm on a Twinplex. I'm on a TL47. So as we go back and forth, you're getting a little demonstration here, and we can talk a little bit more about that. We're going to come up on Twinplex. It is what we consider the flagship of the lavalier mic lineup, but the cable is common between both Duraplex and Twinplex.
Yeah, absolutely. So jumping to Twinplex a little bit, let's talk about that. I think that was kind of a great and natural transition there. Ross, you talking about going out there and listening to customers and what they want and what they need. The Twinplex is a great example of that. So Twinplex was in development for about 7 years, and the cable itself we worked on for about 6 years. But back to what Ross was saying about getting that feedback, once we had what Shure thought was a good version of this mic, it sounded good, the cable was strong, that's when we took it out into the field and started testing. And Twinplex specifically was in real-world beta testing for a full 2 years before we ever brought it to market. And at some of the biggest stages, major sporting events, news broadcasting, television shows, behind-the-scenes television shows, competitions, that sort of thing. So the Twinplex element and cable itself was getting this serious and intense real-world testing for years before we brought it to the market and to the general public, for exactly the reasons Ross and Thomas were just talking about. We created a new lav that we thought was really good, we thought sounded really good, but at the end of the day, we're more concerned about what our customers think. Do you think it sounds good? Does it, when you're out there in the thick of it, is it standing up and living up to your expectations? And that's how we ended up with our Twinplex mics and these cables. So one of the major differences between Duraplex and Twinplex is the element itself. So we talked about how Duraplex is IP rated. Twinplex is very, very water resistant, but it is not officially IP rated. So that is not a waterproof mic. That being said, again, it is very, very water resistant.
So it's going to be able to handle the basic sweat and elements like that, as long as you're not a completely drenched actor or actress, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And even to that degree, it will probably surprise a lot of people how water resistant it is, despite not being waterproof. One of the beta tests we did was a play on Broadway that I'm blanking on the name now. I think it's called South Pacific, if I remember right. But anyway, the important part is that there is a scene in that play where there is an actor in the shower singing. And Twinplex was a beta mic, and they used one mic on that actor for the entire run of the play, and they never had a single failure.
Really?
So this is an actor who's got it in his, up here in a wig, in his head, standing underneath the shower singing, and it performed the way we expected it to perform for the entire run of that play.
With all the humidity and everything.
But yes, exactly, with the spray right on it and all of the auxiliary all around. So not technically waterproof, but very, very water resistant. But the biggest difference there is going to be the element itself. So the Twinplex element is actually a dual diaphragm element. So you have two elements in there that are back-to-back and side firing. So this does a couple of things. One, it's giving you twice the surface area that you get from a similarly sized lav. So it just makes the reproduction of the voice much more natural before you get into any EQing or any processing. Just right out of the gate, you get more of that low end that sometimes can be missing from a very small lav, and it just sounds very natural. The other thing that dual element provides is a much what is the word I'm looking for here? The off-axis performance is much better than you might find. So when you do have to put it up here in a wig, or in theater, or it's back here and you're doing an ear mic, it's in this position that's not exactly ideal. Your performance is still almost the same as if you had it in an ideal position. It still sounds very, very good no matter where it ends up having to be placed because of costuming or the scene or the shot or whatever it may be. That performance really, really stands out.
You know what? We actually have a commercial for the Twinplex. You want to take a look at it?
Absolutely.
Let's take a look at the commercial for the Twinplex so people can get another idea of what we're talking about. We'll be right back.
In dialogue or monologue, song or speech, a single word can affect the whole story. Through sweat, noise, and wear and tear, your little lavalier has an enormous job to do. Shure Twinplex stands up to the toughest conditions to make every word a clear statement of quality. Natural flat high frequencies and robust low frequencies. Twinplex innovative dual diaphragm captures the complete weight of your voice. And the patent-pending capsule design maximizes effective surface area in an easy-to-conceal package. So sound suits performer, not the other way around. Fully paintable, Twinplex is immune to kinks and cable memory effect. Dual redundant grounds are designed with spiraling tinsels that maintain contact with the copper stranded shield throughout the cable, delivering unprecedented flex and strength. Twinplex frequency caps feature an invisible superhydrophobic nano-coating that repels sweat and moisture, preventing corrosion and theater sweatouts. So your lavalier rises to the challenge night after night. Twinplex dual diaphragm lavalier microphones integrate seamlessly into any Pro audio system, offering a comprehensive array of connector, color, sensitivity, cable, and mounting accessory options. Meeting a multitude of conditions, backstage or onstage, show or speech. Twinplex premium sound quality and solid durability serve every performance at every stage.
Sam, again, another incredible commercial. Ross, I don't know how you guys do it.
I don't either, but we're happy to take credit for the beautiful marketing content because we're the only
I'm
guys.
telling that, Ross. It was all you and me. It was all you and me.
You know, one thing I love in there is, you know, there's so many quick things that go by, but you saw the sweat bot go by,
Yes.
right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught that, you know. When we say this has been in development for years and years, part of that is because we are literally building new ways to test the durability, waterproof, dust resistance, all that sort of thing. One of those fun ones is the sweat bot, which just sits there and drips artificial sweat onto a mic. And we take measurements. You know, we'll do 1,000 drips, see how that goes, test the performance. So let's do 1,000 more.
What's its name? Please tell me it's like Drippy or something silly. Like, did you name it something funny?
Did somebody
We
name
just
it?
call it Sweatbot.
Sweatbot.
As far as I know. As far
Sweatbot
as I know,
2.0.
but I might have to go back to the quality team and ask them what other nicknames they've got for it.
I'm voting for Drippy. Sorry.
Yeah,
But
Sweatbot definitely needs an Instagram account to do some Instagram lives of Twinplex testing. But, you know, I think a lot of manufacturers will say things like, oh, we've tested this and we've stamped it with a waterproof or dustproof label. We don't use those words casually. Nothing you see on a Shure spec sheet is put there without extensive testing. So there's a lot that goes into this development. Not a lot of manufacturers would take 2 years of beta testing. You know, we like selling things. We like bringing things to the market, but first it's got to be right. It was actually fun, right, Sam? That kind of 2-year period where Twinplex was the worst kept secret around town as it was in use on all these major events. You know, we're talking to it with kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge with all these high profile users, but we're glad we waited and got it right.
So Sam, I noticed that you guys have a bunch of different versions of the Twinplex. I'm seeing the TL45, the 46, 47, 48, and even this TH53, the headset version. Can you tell me a little bit more about how to break these down? Like if somebody wanted to purchase a Twinplex for the first time, where do you think that they should start so they don't get overwhelmed when they see all the model numbers?
Yeah, absolutely. So first we can start with the commonalities between them. And the most important thing to know there is that all of those elements are omnidirectional. Whether it's a lav or a headset, all of them are omnidirectional elements. When we start talking about where to start as you're looking at these things, I think TL47 is a great place. Internally at Shure, we kind of consider that the workhorse within the Twinplex line. If you're not sure which one's going to be best for your use or your particular application, odds are pretty good that you can grab a TL47, throw it on your talent, and it's going to perform well for you. So some of the differences, the TL45, the 47, and the 48 are all kind of a standard sensitivity, a low sensitivity. That TL46 has a higher sensitivity. So if it's being placed somewhere that's a little bit farther away from the actor's mouth, or you have someone who is a little bit quieter and you need a little bit of extra gain right out of the gate with that mic, and the TL46 might be a good way to go.
Yeah, sometimes before you even put a mic on somebody, they're always quiet. I don't care how many times I ask them to speak up, they're never going to do it. Give them the TL46, right?
Thomas.
That's
names. It sounds like you got someone in mind. Who is it?
I'm really grinding my gears here, guys. No, I'm teasing you.
So some of the other special things about the mic. So the TL45 is also a standard sensitivity. So when it's not going on that quiet speaker, but maybe that actor, that talent is very particular about not wanting to feel the mic on them. So the TL45 has a 1.1 millimeter cable. The other cables are 1.6 millimeters. It doesn't sound like a huge difference, but once it's on you or it's in your hands, feeling it and looking at it, that 1.1 millimeter cable almost disappears once you have that element on you. So when you really need to hide it in costuming, when you have talent that doesn't like feeling the cable, that's what the TL45 is for. And then the TL48 has a fixed cap. When you're looking at the pictures of those mics, you can see that TL48 just looks different than all of the rest of the mics.
Yeah, this is what the 45 looks like, 46, 47, and then if you guys look at the 48, bam, it gets kind of, almost chopped off. It doesn't have that rounded head to it.
Exactly. It doesn't have the rounded head. It doesn't have the slits on the side of the cap to let audio in. It's a little bit taller. And the cap on that 48 is fixed. On the other microphones, you can take it off. You can put either a flat cap or a presence peak cap on there. The 48 is fixed and it's not removable. And that's because it has a permanently built-in presence peak. And the idea with this one is when you need to put it on-air talent, and it's important to not see the mic. So it needs to go under the shirt, or it needs to go under a jacket or something. It has that presence peak permanently built in to help make up for some of that frequency loss you're going to experience when you put it underneath clothing. So that's the design idea with that permanently fixed cap on the 48.
I'm really glad that you're bringing that up, because I don't think a lot of people understand how important it is to use the right microphone for the job. So many people are like, this is the microphone I use. Just get this microphone, put it on. But you need to understand more about the location. You need to understand about the wind, the presence of the actor, the movement of the actor. There are so many factors. And so like you're saying, if you're putting it on talent and you need to put it underneath the clothes, and you're like, well, they're wearing a thick jacket, or they're wearing a thick, sweater or something where it's going to start sounding a little bit more muffled. Well, maybe you want to bring out the TL48 to, compensate for your loss. That's the whole thing. You don't want to have to recreate that in post-production and bring the EQ up when you can just use the right tool for the job.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. There's absolutely something to be said for knowing your products and having that level of comfort, and knowing how you can work with one specific thing to kind of make it a chameleon and get what you need out of it. But I think it's equally as important to know that you have an arsenal of different mics that you can use, and when to use which one and what to use it for. Because you're absolutely right. It's very true in the in the film and TV and location sound world, just like it is in the recording world. The better it sounds at the source, the less work you have to do in post to make it sound usable at the end of the day. So if you get that right the first time, then you don't have to mess with it later on.
Did everyone hear that?
That's always an important thing.
I just want to make sure everyone heard that at home. You want to get it right the first time. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Get it right the first time. Get it right at the source. Absolutely.
Wow, that's a pretty interesting concept. I like it.
Sounds like maybe you've had that conversation with non-audio people before, Thomas.
Different talk we're getting into, guys. Let's just keep moving on.
Right.
What I want to talk about now is, so you've got the Twinplex and the Duraplex Lavaliers, but you've also integrated them into headsets. I'm pointing to my headset now because I'm wearing one, but you guys obviously have some low-profile, beautiful headsets that incorporate these capsules in them. Talk to me about the TH53, which is the Twinplex, and then also the DH5, which is the Duraplex. Which one do you want to talk about first?
We can start with the TH53. Why not?
Love it.
So the elements are the same, and that goes for as the lobs, and that goes for Twinplex as well as Duraplex. So when you go for a Twinplex headset, you're still getting that dual diaphragm side firing omnidirectional element. It's got a very nice boom on the side there, and these screw chokes that are kind of at the bottom of these earpieces. So if you need to adjust, you need to adjust the length of that boom. You need to adjust the pitch of the boom for whoever it's on. It's very, very quick and easy for whoever's doing that adjustment to unscrew that wheel a little bit, adjust the boom where you need it to be, and then lock it back down so it stays. If you have talent that is very particular about which side it's on, it's very easy to unscrew that clutch, pop it off, switch the boom to the other side so it can be left or right side. But for Twinplex, one of the really, really nice things is just the frame itself, the headset frame. So that frame is a very, very thin wire to the point where you can quite literally take it and ball it up in your hand and let go, and it'll just spring right back. So it's not going to knot up. It's not going to, bend and kink on you as you're going through your normal day to day. I don't necessarily recommend sitting there and trying to actively bend it, because you probably will be able to at that point. But just kind of in your every day-to-day use, or ripping that thing off your head when you're done, it's going to land. It's going to go back in your case the way you put it in there every time. It's going to be ready to go next time you need it. And from a talent perspective, once you put it on, it virtually disappears. You really almost can't even tell that you're wearing a headset anymore, because it's so thin, it's so light, and it's so comfortable. It's very easy to forget that you have a headset on with the TH53.
That's amazing.
And Thomas, just to be clear, there are different Twinplex lavalier mics, but the headset for Twinplex is effectively the TL47 on the headset frame.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So you don't get the 46 or the 45 in the TH53 frame.
Right. So the 46, the high sensitivity, is not available in a headset format today.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good to know.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then you've thrown up the available models a few times. Very helpful. Might seem a little daunting. Again, a lot of what you're seeing as that goes by is the connector options as well. So you see the color variations, and we have connectors for our Shure Body Pack Wireless TA4F, 3-pin LEMO, a no connector. So if you want to terminate your own, or get your Trew Audio team to help you terminate that, or the microdot. So looks like an immense amount of different products, which there are, but it's color variations, connector types for the headset, and then the different lavalier types as well.
And those are the models right there, just so everybody can see. And, honestly, though, no one needs to really worry about that too much, because obviously you've got your helpful Trew Audio employees here from any of our locations around the world that if you guys want to demo these lavaliers, you want to try them out, you want to hear them, you'd like to purchase them, we're here for you. We can help you get the ones that are right for the system that you have. And another thing just to let everyone know is that we do have our Trew Audio credit card offer as well from Synchrony. So if you guys are interested in picking up some of these microphones and, just basically using them before you have to pay for them, this might be an option for you as well. Guys, incredible microphones. Let's talk about the DH5.
Absolutely. Like we were just mentioning with Twinplex, the DH5 uses the same element as the Duraplex Lavaliers. Mm-hmm. It is also omnidirectional. It has a nice, you can see there in the picture Thomas has up now, it's not quite the same choke mechanism. It's a little rubberized holder that's in there, but it holds your element very securely in place. Similarly, if you have a preference for one side over the other, it's easy to pop that out, switch that boom from one side to the other. The big difference here is going to be the headset itself. So the Duraplex headset is a thicker gauge wire. It's a little more heavy duty, and it is a little tighter to the head than the Twinplex is. Now, it is one of those things, is you pull it out of the box. If you just pull it out of the box and throw it on, after a little bit of time, it's going to feel a little bit tight on the head. So it is important to work with it. You can adjust the over the ear part to make it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, tighter, that sort of thing. So the more that you do that and kind of get it to fit your head or the talent's head, whoever it's going to be on, does make it more comfortable than it is right out of the box. But again, the idea there is that out of the box, it's going to be very tight. So if it's going on someone who's super active when they're on camera, or in the case of a live performer, if it's going on a performer who does all kinds of crazy acrobatics on a stage and jumping around and that sort of thing, you can be very, very confident that it's not going to move, it's not going to fall off, that element's not going to get out of place. But it is important to work with it a little bit and make sure that it fits you, and it fits you the way that you want it to make sure that it is comfortable when you wear it for a long time.
Our idea there, of course, is if you're buying a waterproof element, you're likely in some sort of performance where you're going to be a little more active than the average kind of headset user. So we're trying to kind of match the fit and the form factor there to
Exactly.
who's most likely to need a waterproof, dustproof mic.
For sure. One of the things that you brought up that resonates with me is that people have to understand that, it's not the tool, it's the fool. And when I say that, what I mean is that, like, even again, when you're adjusting a headset, when you buy something brand new out of the box, the professional is going to make that product work for him, for that talent, for this production, for that day. It's always going to change. So one of the things that I love about all of the information, your website, all the details that you put, if you guys noticed, I had the slideshow of how you go through adjusting the headsets to make them fit. It's very important that you don't just pull it out of the box and go, and then shove it on somebody's head. There are finite adjustments. This is a very high quality piece of gear. And like you said, you put years into creating the bends and the tolerances right where they are so it can fit and be a all-use situation. Everybody has different size heads, so you need to know how it's shaped and how to adjust it correctly so you're not breaking it. It's just like the people back in the day that always take the shock mounts and they just, instead of untwisting it, moving it and twisting it, you're going to ruin it.
Right. Let me just apply elbow grease to this and that'll make it work better, right?
Yeah, don't do that. Learn how to use your products the right way, because the people that made them actually took the time to make them right so they can work for everyone.
The microphone is the most personal of the products, right? I mean, lighting is critical, but it's not on the talent. The cameras, lenses, everything around the production is absolutely critical. But the microphone is what is you're feeling and touching and is on your person, on your head. So it is, yes, as unique to the person wearing it. Just takes a little time to break in, right? Like anything that personal to the user.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
So just touching on Duraplex connector options, since we talked about them with Twinplex, I think it is important to note Duraplex is 3-pin LEMO or TA4F only. So unlike Twinplex, there is not a bare wire version, and I am no engineer, but something to do with the design of the element. Without doing some kind of additional work with the element, you cannot just snip off that connector at the end and put on something else. So it is important to note 3-pin LEMO or TA4 are both connector types. You can buy it as is with those connectors, but those are the only connectors that you can use with Duraplex lavs and headsets.
That doesn't really bother me too much. It just means that you're going to buy the microphone that is for your system, and you're going to know that when you make your purchase. And if you need help, again, you can call us up. We'd be happy to help you guys out. All we need to know is what wireless system you're using, and we'll make sure that it works for that system.
If you need a wireless system recommendation, Thomas, you have come to the right couple of guys.
Yeah,
that you have. I think we've got some wireless we can talk about for you today.
Let's do it. What's next, guys?
So next up, we wanted to talk about our Axient Digital Wireless today. Axient Digital is our flagship top of the line, and it's a wireless system that we're really, really proud of. So several years back, 7 or 8 years or so, we launched our Axient Analog Wireless, which was our flagship. But of course, as we all know, the available spectrum that we have is getting smaller and smaller, and the demand for wireless channels is getting higher and higher. So we took our Axient Analog and made a digital version of it. Because it is more spectrally efficient. We could meet those demands. So Axient Digital has a lot of really special features here, and we'll try and fit as many of them in and talk as thoroughly as we can. I think one of the most important things, though, is that it's a wideband system. So no matter where you are in the country, no matter what city you happen to be shooting in on any particular day, both transmitters and receivers are wideband. They can utilize the full amount of spectrum that is still legal to use after this most recent auction. So that means you pull out your receiver, you pull out a transmitter, run your scan, sync, and you're ready to go. There's no having to worry about this band for this part of the country and this band for this part of the country. Did I grab the right transmitter? Do I have a band mismatch here going on? You are fully wideband transmitter and receiver. And that is a very convenient but very important thing to have, and makes, really, at the end of the day, it's all about workflow, right? It's about trying to improve your workflow and make things easier for you as the user. How can we make your workflow better? And wideband is an important thing there. The next thing that's pretty cool about Axient Digital is it's within that single ecosystem, it's a little bit scalable. So from a receiver standpoint right now, we have rack mount receivers. We have dual and quad channel receivers. I know in the location sound world, a lot of stuff is done with bags. A lot of stuff is done on the go. We do not currently have a bag receiver. It is all rack mount receivers, but we have seen some pretty good uptake on the cart work that's happening in the world. We're seeing more and more folks start to adopt Axient Digital, and part of that has to do with the transmitters and the way that is scalable. So you can have a single receiver that works with what we call our AD series receivers or our ADX series receivers, transmitters. So both of those series of transmitters work with the same receiver. You don't need one receiver for one kind and one receiver for the other. Now, what we see most often in this world are the ADX series transmitters. And ADX just means that the transmitter is compatible with what we call ShowLink. And ShowLink is the ability to remotely control the transmitter from Wireless Workbench, our free software, or from the front of the receiver screen itself. So everything that you have control over when you have that transmitter in your hands, if you have an ADX ShowLink enabled transmitter, you can control that remotely. So if you need to get it on your talent, but they're not going to be on camera for a while, you can run your scan, you can sync everything up, and then you can throw that thing in RF mute remotely, and you don't have to pull it back off of your talent.
Wow. Well, Sam just went away for a moment here.
And I think that's a very important feature, and it's one that we've seen is a big deal to users. And again, it comes back to workflow. You don't have to bother your talent. You can run a scan in Wireless Workbench. You can do all of your coordination there. And as long as your ShowLink access point is connected, as soon as you turn on your transmitters, it'll go, oh, I see my receiver is over here on this new frequency now. I better jump over there and join it. So it just makes your workflow faster. It makes it smoother. Again, at the end of the day, we're trying to make life easier for you.
Hey, Sam.
So Ross, I know you've got a whole bunch of gear over there. ShowLink is important, but there are a couple of extra pieces that are needed. And I want to talk about those a little bit. Both the ShowLink access point and the AXT 600, the Spectrum Manager, are kind of these auxiliary pieces to the transmitter and receiver, but they're what really make the magic work with these systems. Yes, yes, exactly. So that AXT600 is our spectrum manager. And what that allows you to do is scan the spectrum, of course. If you've got it connected to wireless workbench, you can do your coordination there. But importantly, what you can do is within wireless workbench, you can decide whether you need backup frequencies, which of course we all need, right? We've all been in that situation where we do our coordination, we think we're good to go, and then at the most critical point, your transmitter takes a hit and now you've lost audio. Nobody likes being there, and we've all been there.
Yeah, it happens, doesn't it?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, a couple of things there, which we're happy to demonstrate actually. So if you're looking at our rack of gear here, the Spectrum Manager, well, the top panel is just a representation of the back panel of the receiver, which is the second unit down. The AXT600 is the third unit down, and it might be a little tough to read on your screen, but it says in use 3. I have 3 transmitters synced up over here, and it says ready 41. That is because, and if I toggle over to my instance of Wireless Workbench real quick, if you can see this, I have scanned and found 44 compatible frequencies in my area here. And if you're looking at my scan window, you can see that I'm avoiding all of the DTV broadcast stations and my public safety channels. But with that wideband tuning, I've got plenty of frequencies to choose from. And actually, my Spectrum Manager will grab a clean frequency as needed and deploy it out to one of my ADX transmitters in real time. So I've set up my equipment here under my interference detection mode is automatic, so that if I do get interference, I will flip out to a clean frequency, which is pretty handy, all things considered. And we can set up and demonstrate this. I've got a handheld transmitter here, which I can turn on. And let me flip from a lavalier to a handheld.
Oh, wow.
Check 1, 2. Hear me?
Yep, we're on the mic now.
There we go.
So this handheld transmitter is actually broadcasting on 2 frequencies simultaneously. You can see one is 518.7, one is 547.325. I am going to turn on a transmitter that I have pre-coordinated, assuming no one walked in here and changed it, to 518.7. And so when I turn it on in 3, 2, 1, and we're going to watch interference happen, and then we see the system adapt and switch out to 580.325. And you should not have heard any drop in audio there because I was already broadcasting on a clean frequency simultaneously.
Wow.
So I've touched nothing at the rack. I've touched nothing in the software. The system registers interference, makes a change. And just to show you that I don't need to get my transmitter back to the rack, if I want, I can manually tell this frequency, well, I don't like 580.325 for whatever reason. Maybe I want to do that demo again. So let's just put in 518.7. And when I hit apply, this is going to go from the software to the receiver, from the receiver to change the receiver channel, and then to the show link, which is going to change the frequency on my transmitter as soon as I hit apply. And there we see that change is made on my transmitter. And I'm sorry, my interference is still on 518.7, so it avoided it again.
But as you can see, it happens very, very quickly. So Ross walked us through all that, and it sounds like a lot of steps. But as you just saw live there, all of that happens, all of that communication, that recognizing there's interference and communication between the systems and then the transmitter is all happening in about 100 milliseconds. So it's happening very, very, very quickly. And again, all of this is just to make sure that when you're in a position where it's critical and you need to stay on air, you're staying on air, no matter what kind of interference you're running into.
You know, the thing that I like the most about it is, like, I'm the type of person that give me the most information that I can have. If there's, I want every manual, every YouTube video, everything. I want to know everything about this product. And when you're looking at everything and seeing everything that's in the air that's around you, instead of wondering, like, God, why is my internet not, or why is my wireless not working? Well, you're going to know because this is what is happening it's like God mode basically for wireless. That's what I would admit it to right now. You know, it's
and that's
incredible.
actually
I'm sorry, real quick to that point. There is a headphone jack on the front of the AXT 600. So if you feel like somebody is interfering with one of your channels on air, there's some rogue ENG crew on your campus, you know, doing some broadcast, you can actually tune into their frequency, listen in, figure out who it is, and then go track them down in real time. So for the God mode, we've got some advanced features there that can be pretty handy.
That's awesome. Wow.
And also related to that, and what you were just talking about, Thomas, about having all the information, we also have within Workbench, we have a feature called Timeline, and Timeline is something that allows you to kind of keep tabs on what that signal has been over time, and it will keep tabs. You can select each channel individually or select all of them as you desire, but it will keep tabs on your audio level, your RF strength, the quality meter, which is those 5 purple little dots you see there on the active channel on Ross's screen, which is really just signal to noise ratio. It'll keep track of all of that over time. So after the fact, you know, if you go back and say, geez, I know I took a hit somewhere around 1 p.m. today, but I was in the middle of stuff, I didn't know what it was. As long as you're recording that timeline, it allows you to go back and then do some diagnostic work and say, okay, you know I had a drop there, but it looks like my RF is good and my quality meter didn't drop, so maybe it was something mechanical. It must have been something with my lav element or something with my pack, because I see that from an RF standpoint, I was good all the way through. And that's really, really handy to be able to have and to go back and kind of do that root cause analysis when you know you ran into something, but in the moment you don't quite know exactly what it was.
And what you're looking at there, and sorry for some screen share issues, but you're looking at the timeline now, and the little red bar was I manually clicked my transmitter off for a second. And so it registered that as a drop in RF level, drop in quality, you know, a drop in everything. And I created that just so we can have an example of that scrolling by in the timeline there.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a great, like you said, Thomas, just having all of this information, give me all of the info so that I know what's going on, I can look at it. That's a great tool to have. There's also a nice button in there within Workbench that that I like to kind of call the "oh crap" button, and that's the auto timeline. So within the settings, you can choose kind of how long that buffer window is. But let's say you start going, you know, it's you know, ready, set, go, and you're off to the races kind of before you even had time to prepare that day, and you meant to have your timeline running, but when everything started, you forgot. Well, you can hit that auto timeline button, and whatever your buffer is set to, it's kind of always recording in the background and writing over itself. But say you have it set to 10 seconds or so, you can hit record, and it'll pop up that first 10 seconds where you weren't technically recording yet, but it was working in the background. So you can make sure that you have this timeline. And like I said, I kind of jokingly like to refer to it as the "oh crap" button, because that's where you go, oh crap, I forgot to start timeline, hit it, and now you've got that kind of backlog of info before you remember to hit the button. But it's still critical to you after the fact, or you may need down the line.
Wow.
And just to be clear how we're running all this, the back of the receiver has effectively got a 4-port switch. So we can isolate Dante primary, secondary, if you're using the Dante outputs. And then we have a control port primary, secondary. One of those control ports can provide PoE to your show link, which is this little guy. That gives me remote control of those ADX transmitters. And then you can plug your laptop in to the second port for control, and all of this is really just run off the receiver itself. So once you get the receiver, that is the hub of the system. The Spectrum Manager is really the icing on top that allows you to go into that full sort of autopilot mode, where the Spectrum Manager is keeping that list of backup frequencies, updating it over time, ranking them. And the virtue of the backup frequencies is that they're coordinated with all of your other on-air transmitters. So there's no of cycling in a backup frequency that actually, by coincidence, interferes with the primary frequency. That's not the case. When you hit coordinate, it's running a calculation for every possible frequency to be basically friendly with every other frequency.
Right. And Ross, you kind of touched on it there, but I just want to dive in a little bit more about the that constant scanning and checking of the frequencies, because I think that's a really important thing to know about the AXT600 is once you've done your coordination and you've pushed all of your backup frequencies to your spectrum manager, it's not that you did a scan and a coordination at the beginning of the day and 6 hours ago, those were good frequencies. That spectrum manager is constantly rescanning, constantly looking at what the spectrum looks like and doing a stoplight ranking basically of your backup frequencies, a red, yellow, green. So just because this frequency was good 6 hours ago when you ran your scan, doesn't mean that's necessarily going to be the best one that it pushes out, because maybe 2 hours ago, all of a sudden something lit up and that frequency is not really good to go anymore. So you can be very confident that if and when you run into that situation where your system needs to push a new frequency out, the one that it's pushing out has consistently been good since you ran that scan and since you started up your spectrum manager in the morning. And I think that's a really, really important thing to know about the way that that system operates, because it just instills the confidence in it that much more, and helps put you at ease knowing that, okay, we're 4 hours in today and now I'm having a problem, but that freak I just pushed out, I know has been good for the last 4 hours since I coordinated, because it's been checked over and over and over again.
And the nice part is you can sort of grow over time with the system, right? If you're getting into Axient Digital for the first time, you might go with just a receiver, which is still a wideband, UHF scanning device, and maybe some AD transmitters, right? Typical RF one street. And then you add that ADX and the show link to give you real-time remote control of an ADX transmitter for your VIP talent. And you can continue to add ADX. And as soon as you add the spectrum manager, really to any, Shure network receiver, but specifically with ADX, because it can also then communicate back to transmitters. That's what kind of completes the full ecosystem to manage everything under your Shure world.
Exactly.
And with that and all of the Twinplex and Duraplex wires, you're going to have a pretty incredible sounding system. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. I think you're going to be very, very happy with the way that your system sounds.
Love it. Well, guys, I want to say, Sam, Ross, thank you so much for joining me today for what is our last episode of Trew Audio Presents for 2020. What a year, guys. What a year.
It was an interesting year, but glad we got to be here and do this with you, Thomas.
You know what?
Bon voyage to 2020. Amen.
Do you guys have any special words for everybody out there for the next year? What do you want to say for the ending?
Keep chugging away. Good luck. Best wishes. Stay safe. Stay healthy. We're here for you if and when you need us, and Trew Audio is here for you as well. Anything we can do for you, anything your Trew associates can do for you, we are always here and happy to answer questions, to help you find the product that suits you best. Please, please, please don't be afraid to ask questions. We love questions. Your local Trew Audio team is here for you. And if they're not sure off the top of their heads, Ross and I are here to help them and help you as well.
We're going to ask them. High five, buddy. Come on. We did it.
Oh, wait. Tom. Oh, shoot.
You did it wrong again. You had a whole hour to... Never mind.
Oh, hold on. I am dyslexic, and it's mirrored, and, to set up for failure here.
We'll give you a pass next time.
We tried.
All right. Guys, thank you so much. I want to say thank you to all of you for joining us again for Trew Audio Presents. Once again, this is Thomas Pop from Trew Audio Marketing. Thank you so much for a wonderful year. And as the boys said, please be safe, and we'll see you in 2021. Take care.